Tara, the author of the Dining on a Dime cookbook, with my mom, Jill, who is also the author of the Dining on a Dime cookbook, where you can eat better, spend less. We have real food for real families. Today we are talking and starting, well, not really starting, but we are talking about our series on prepping. So, Mom raised 2 teenagers on $500 a month, pretty much had every catastrophe that could ever happen, did happen. And so we are of a prepper mindset. Even before prepping was a big thing, big to do, we did this because just for survival's sake.
Well, it's funny you said that because Uncle Jack called just a little bit ago before we were doing this. And I was telling him what we were doing it on. And he said, oh, yeah. And he was telling me all of these ideas that he did, And he and I both, my brother and I both, do all this survival, kind of like, not survival, prepping stuff type of thing. And I'm thinking, what made us like this? But it's just we had so
I'll tell you what made... Yeah, living with my grandparents is what made this happen, because
Grandma and Grandpa didn't teach us to be this way. It's just that when we had so many things go wrong, that we had to deal with constantly.
But here's the thing. People use their credit cards to get themselves out of situations. So their car breaks down, so they use their credit card to call the tow company. People don't try to sit and figure out how to do these things without money. So like with Grandma and Grandpa, they didn't have credit cards. They didn't even exist back then. Yeah. For you couldn't afford a credit card because even though it existed, there would be no way you could pay it, pay even the minimum payment. Yeah. And so I think it's really done a disservice to my generation and younger.
Trying to think how to figure out in a bad situation, how do I fix it and what do I do without just buying something.
Or if you don't have the money, without just going and buying it. Like I saw some people that I know full good and well, they're in hock up to their eyeballs to the tune of like $150,000, $200,000 worth of debt. What's sitting in their garage right now? A brand new car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they don't have to figure out how to make do.
Yeah, they're not using their survival skills and just everyday survival skills, let alone something in an emergency. And well, I'll get into that in a little bit. But for this first video, this won't be the first video necessarily, but for this video, I thought we've been having power outages all around because of flooding and that type of thing in our area.
I just got 100 pounds of meat for $1 a pound. I'm going to be really hacked if we lose the power.
And that's what I was wanting to talk. I thought this would be really good to tell people to do because I've lost like 3 to 4 freezers and refrigerators full of food. It just, well, probably even more than that because almost every year.
But let me say, I have saved, even if I lost an entire freezer full of food, over the years, for me, I have saved enough that it has outweighed anything I would lose. Because usually you can save the majority of it. But so go ahead and...
That's what I was going to try to help people to figure out how to save as much as they can. So when you lose your power, and we're just dealing with the refrigerator and freezer today for this one, to keep it a little bit shorter. But there's a method to do. First of all, do not open the refrigerator and the freezer, keep it closed. And only if you're needing something out of there, you think carefully, I need this, 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 and this. And you open up the door and you grab exactly what you need out of there and close it right away. Mm-hmm. And don't open it any more than you absolutely have to if you're fixing a meal or something. Now, you've got to learn, and you can go online and Google this, and you can get more longer list and more information. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to keep it simple and short for Basics. For you to have for the moment.
Yeah.
But if you do lose it in the refrigerator, it helps to know what food you need to eat up right away, because you'll waste less of this food if you can do that. Things like ketchup, mustard, pickles, olives, hard cheeses, any type of hard cheese. Let's see what else. Oh, Worcestershire sauce, barbecue sauce, dressings that are made out of vinegar, jellies. Those all you don't have to worry about eating. They can sit on your cabinet for counter as long as you need to. So don't worry about using those up.
Yeah, we refrigerate a lot of those items, but in a lot of the world, they don't refrigerate them. Yeah.
So you don't really, and it has to do with the acid content in them and different things. The bacteria will not grow in those, so you're safe.
So don't worry about those things if your power goes out.
Yeah, so those types of things, and there's a list of a few more things if you used a few different. The fresh fruits and vegetables in your bins, take those, and if you open the door up really fast, get as much out as you can, and then close it again quickly. Now, milk, what I do with milk, to me, milk and eggs are borderline. Milk, I will leave on the counter until it actually goes sour. Or,
They didn't used to have refrigerators.
They didn't. Yeah. The milkman would come deliver the milk on their front porch and set it on their front porch, and people would just leave it out, all day. So milk moves down a level. You want to use it up. It won't stay fresh for forever like the other stuff I mentioned, and you want to use it up as soon as possible. Eggs, too, you can use them, maybe keep until the next day.
Well, but in Europe, they don't even refrigerate them.
I know.
So you could probably go several days to a week.
Could. Yeah. You could. The main thing you've got to use up quickly is meat items, and things like that. The mayonnaise, you'll probably lose the mayonnaise and that type of thing. It will keep longer than you think. So if it goes out in the morning, you can use that mayonnaise at least through lunch.
Well, you could probably 24 hours with
take it out of the refrigerator. Yeah, it'll sit in there for 24 hours. But the stuff you need to get, need to get it eaten up within 24 hours. The meat, though, earlier. The meat you need to get up pretty. So
if your power goes out,
meat
for your refrigerator, start with your meat. Make sure, I don't care if it's breakfast, you're eating that leftover roast for breakfast.
Don't do the cereal. Eat the meat.
Yeah. Then next, your milk products, your soft cheeses like, the jar cheeses, if you have something like that, cream cheese, mozzarella, cottage cheese, milk, do those next. Then don't worry about the condiments that are like ketchup and vinegar dressings, those kinds of things. If you have a ranch dressing and some vegetables, you're going to be making up sliced vegetables with some ranch dressing for a dip. That's what you're going to be eating. So in that order is what you need to do for your refrigerator. Keep it closed as long as possible. Your mayonnaise and stuff will probably stay good 12 to 24 hours with the leftover cold that's in there if you're not opening it up all the time.
These were after the 24 hours is what I didn't explain that right. Yeah. So the freezer will stay, if you have it packed full, 48 hours. If you have it full. If you only have it half full, only 24 hours. Now what I do is I keep bottles, I get the 2-liter bottles of pop, and I fill them full of water, and I keep those in there. So that, what an option is, because I keep the freezer bottles, if I don't have too much in my freezer, I might take a couple of those bottles out and put in a cooler too, if I needed to put some stuff in a cooler to keep.
Yeah. So if your freezer isn't completely full of food, and let's say you've only got 1 or 2 shelves worth of food, take your frozen water, put it in a cooler, and set it in your garage or wherever. If it's the middle of summer, though, don't put it in the garage, keep it in the house. If it's the middle of winter, keep it in the garage, not in the house. If you live in a cold, cold
As
climate.
A matter of fact, if it's in the winter, you really don't have to worry about stuff that much. Just pack it in coolers and stick it in the garage, or even just sit on the shelves in the garage. It depends on what your garage is.
And if you're
in it,
when we had our ice storm in Kansas for 14 days, we lost power for 14 days. I just opened my freezer. And everything just stayed frozen because it was the middle of January and it didn't get above 30, and everything was fine.
And this is off the subject. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I probably won't think of it in another video. In the winter, when you lose your power like that, I found out in that same ice storm that I took my flowers. I had to go over and stay at my son's for a few days. We all did because we had no power. Tara and I didn't have power. My son was the only one that had power. So I had to leave the house. I have these house plants, And I did not want to lose. I knew they would freeze. It was cold just instantly in this house. You would be surprised how fast it can get cold in a car or house without heat going. And so I carried them. I took starts of some of them and carried as many as I could down into my basement. I have it's walled off, you know, a smaller section in my basement. It has my hot water heater and it had my gas furnace in there. I put my plants on my wash machine and down there in that area. I shut the door. And do you know the pilot light from the hot water heater and the pilot light from the gas furnace kept it from freezing, just above freezing, so my plants didn't freeze down there.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And I saved them. I was so glad. And it was comfortable warm in there. Just that little area. I couldn't believe that those 2 pilot lights. Now I understand when they say burn a candle in the car, how to keep it warm. So, but anyway, so eat the food in that order. And like Tara says, if you have to eat steak for breakfast, who has steak? I don't own steak. Why did I say steak?
I actually have 2 steak in my fridge right now, but it's only because I'm testing recipes for the new book.
But you know, eat it in the order that it's going to spoil is the main point.
And eat it in the order of most expensive to least expensive.
Yes.
So if you have steak in your freezer, eat the steaks before you eat. Yeah, before you eat your bologna or before you eat your lunch meat or whatever's not as well. Actually, lunch meat is pretty expensive. So before your $1.47 chicken or your 39-cent chicken, eat your meat in the most expensive to the least expensive, and cook it. If you are still able to cook and it's getting to the point where your meat is thawing out and you're just going to have to, before you lose it, cook it all up and the power might come on and you might be able to save that meat while you're cooking it, you know, so,
So those are some options to do if you lose your refrigerator.
So make it easy on yourself, guys. If you lose power, keep those coolers and those bottles of water in. Keep your coolers handy and your bottles of water frozen in the freezer because it really helps. Saved our hides several times. So please check out our Dining on a Dime cookbook. Please like, subscribe, and share. We will see you guys next time.